Welcome home, where we provide information, inspiration, and motivator after motivator after motivator here on America's Next. I have Calvina Johnson here with me today. How you doing, Calvina?
I'm good. I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing quite well. I like the sponge top you got going on there.
Listen, I was going through this morning with my
I like it though. I like it though. You know, that hairstyle, it says so much about authenticity, about originality and strength. You know what I mean? Yeah. When did you start rocking it?
I cut my hair like 2 years ago. Like I was wigging and weaving it, and I just got fed up, and I was like, I need something to do. So I just got the clippers and was like, yeah.
You cut it yourself?
Initially, no, but then I just started like buzz cutting it because it was getting kind of expensive. So.
Let me ask you. Yeah, I mean, okay, it got a little expensive, but why is it that after an actual barber cuts your hair, you think you could just hop in and follow where that person left off? Why do you think that?
Because I already got the guideline. So all I need is the guideline, and then I could kind of replicate everything else. All I need is a mirror and some clippers, and I'm good to go.
Okay, the guidelines, right? But your hair is already growing back. But hey, nevertheless, I like your confidence. Where do we start? You know, there's so many things that I want to talk to you about as I look at the things that are going on in America. And I see just based off of your socials and conversations and pre-production that you're somebody who is a leader. You're somebody who is an entrepreneur, and you're somebody who can be considered an advocate. So I'm very excited just for your take on things. But before we get to some of these things, I want to talk to you about a little bit about your past. Where are you from?
So I'm born and raised in New York. I'm born and bred in Astoria, though. So
Okay.
Queens.
Yeah. Okay. Shouts out to Astoria. Now, why do you have to distinguish Astoria? What goes on there that makes you so cultured or different from everybody else?
Not a thing. And that's what we kind of pride ourselves on. We're kind of like the hidden gem of Queens. If you know, you know at this point, because, you know, it's like some people know what Astoria is and how beautiful it is. And, you know, the culture of Astoria, and some are like, what is Astoria? Mm-hmm. So either you get left or right. It's kind of no in between.
Right. What are some of your fondest memories of growing up there in Astoria?
Oh, man. Just all of the outdoor activities that Astoria provides, as far as all of their parks and stuff like that. I remember just going kayaking with my dad. My dad was a big outdoor person, so he would drag me every single place in Astoria. And my mom found quirky ways to just find usually quirky free ways to entertain me. So just whether it was like just a picnic in Flushing Meadows, or just kind of going around like the different parks and stuff like that, and just grabbing the local paper and just seeing what was going on in Astoria, different fairs and stuff. And she knew I was greedy, so different food fairs and things like that went around the store. Astoria is big for like food and stuff like that. So
sure,
that's how much it went.
That's pretty cool. Now you said your mother and your father were both active in your life when you were young, right? Mm-hmm. You have brothers and sisters too?
So I'm adopted, right? So I have 2 sisters, 1 brother, and I was adopted. My adoption was final when I was 15. So when I refer to my parents, I'm talking about my adoptive parents, and they were phenomenal. And this story wouldn't even be this story if it wasn't for them. And I'm eternally grateful for them. And I know I'm blessed and highly favored to have even crossed paths with these 2 sets of amazing people who have gone on to glory. And I'm just so grateful for everything that they have instilled in me.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? Right at the onset of this interview, we want to appreciate and respect their memory, respect the contribution that they made in your life, and indirectly the community, because you've done good things in the community. And so, you know, we want to thank and appreciate your parents, and we want to thank and appreciate all the parents out there who have taken it upon yourself to reach into the life of somebody else and do a wonderful work. I don't think enough homage, respect, and admiration can be paid to people who do that, who come in and change the trajectory of your life. Right. Now, Calvina, can you talk to me about, what life was like for you? Let's say when you were 5 or 6 years old. What were some of the precipitating factors that contributed to you as you got older?
I was pretty much again. I'm so grateful for the foster parents that I had that turned into my forever family. They let me be such free spirits. Like whether it was 1 week it was piano, next week I got sick of that, then it was soccer, then I realized I'm not one for the athletics, so that turned into dance, and that it just seeing that I was allowed to do whatever I wanted shaped me into the adult that I am today, because now I can have my hands into so many pots and be able to successfully multitask, because I've been kind of homegrown into being able to multitask different things like that I'm interested in. And it may be vast. They don't have to be like in one set area. It may be from dogs to astronomy. You know what I'm saying? So as I was young, my mom always kept me engaged. And with a child like me, that's major key, to have me always engaged and, always focused on a bigger picture and not idle.
Right. If I can ask respectfully, what happened that caused you to go into foster care?
So my biological mom had a really turbulent past with substance abuse, and that's pretty much, she battled with it her whole life, and that was just a demon that she couldn't shake. So my brother and my sisters kind of fell prey to that, but I was kind of like the last of the Mohegans, and my brother and my sisters, we have about a 10 or 11 year age gap. So okay. my mom also took all of them in, but they already had kind of like a taste of freedom already. Like, they were already with my biological mom and just like, kind of running the streets and doing whatever they wanted to do. And by the time I came and, got of age, and they're like, come on over to the, come on over to death row, come on over to the dark side. I'm like, to run the streets and ride like, why would you, what do you mean? Like, what?
Wow.
What for? Why? What? Like, what am I still, like, I don't understand it. Right. And so, I kind of had that rebel stage where I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna do it, because this is what I'm supposed to do. Like, I'm gonna pursue this route. And it just kind of went a 360, and it was totally of my own doing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you kind of come to a crossroads where it's like, you want better, but then it's like, it's just so much easier to go down that beaten path where it's just like, whatever happens. So it's just easier kind of just to go through that path of life and just be like, it's easier just to succumb to your surroundings and your situations. And I'm just like, okay, well, it's easier that way. So I'm just going to take that toll. But wow. Then I kind of just tapped in, and my mom just kept staying on me, just a positive reinforcement. And, she was very big on disciplinarian, but it was just like, she just kept on. And I'm like, why am I fighting this love? Why am I fighting this love? And, I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna see how it rocks out on this side. You know what I'm saying? Wow. So where the separation kind of came. And
okay. So let's unfold some of the things that you said, because for those people who might not be familiar with the type of life that you're talking about, and I am able to relate, because my biological mother, also dealt with substance issues. We also lived a life of dysfunction as a result of that before we went into foster care for a number of years. I too was effectively adopted, and I love my mother very much as well. And so I totally hear you now when you say that your brothers and sisters were already out there living on the dark side, and you were thinking, why should I do that? But then you eventually gave in. Can you talk to me about, the deliberate choice that a lot of our young people make to get on that dark side? And how old were you when you decided to deliberately rebel because it was what was happening around you?
I want to say when I was like I want to say 16. I give it to like 16 to 19. 16 okay. 19, it was kind of like that. It was the tug of war with my life, the tug of war. And it was just fun. That's pretty much what it was. It was just fun because I had a little taste of freedom. My adopted parents had got sick. My dad had got cancer, and my mom she had just a host of problems that she was going through. And she had a host of amputations and stuff like that. So it was a time that my dad was in the hospital. My mom was like the triad of my community, which was my dad, my mom, and my great grandmother. They were all in the hospital at the same time. So I was left to my kind of devices. You know, she put people in place to make sure that I didn't kill myself at this point. But, you know, I had much more freedom than I had originally. So that's when I said, you know, idle things start to set in, and I started running with the people that were just fun, and they were fun. You know, the people that tutor and the people that go to class, they weren't fun. They were not fun. I love to run. I like to run the streets of Harlem. I love to run the streets of the projects, and it was just fun. I loved, you know, just getting into stuff that I had no business getting into, and it was honestly, it was the highlight of my young days.
Right,
It really was.
Any tips that you can offer for young people who might watch this video in the future, or a parent who has a child right now that absolutely loves to run the streets? Can you give any tips for safety to young people out there who are in that phase right now?
You know what it was? It was I was in such a struggle with self that I was just trying to fold into a model that I never fit into. So when a parent or when someone offers to, you know, be yourself, it's so much that encompasses that just gets lost in translation. You have to help someone discover who themselves actually are. You know what I'm saying? There's a process to understanding who you are and being okay with who you are, and being okay with that you may not fit in this class or you may not fit in that class, but whatever class you'll fit in, people will flock to that. And that will be the class of its own, because I was running with the kids who was running the streets and stuff like that. But I always never knew I felt I didn't fit in. You know, I was always the one that had that story. Like, I had both parents in the home. I ate good. I dressed well. My grades weren't decent. I'm sure they let me out of high school because they didn't want to see me another year. So they gave me my diploma because I definitely didn't earn it. So it was just like, I wasn't off that side of the track. So I was kind of awkward, but I always fit in because I had the street smarts or whatever. But and I was always the kid who was in church and doing all of this other stuff. And that's kind of like the biggest thing that weighed on me, like my faith. I was just so heavy in the church. It was just like, I was so awkward. I was just socially acceptable at that point in my life. And I just didn't know what group to fit in, because I was too street to be in church all day. And I was just like, listen, if this were to take to go to heaven, I'd rather go to hell, because it's just too tiring. It's too much work, and I'm not for it. And I'm 16. What? Ministry, not my. So, you know what? It was tug of war.
You know what you're talking about right now is huge. I think that so many young adults are experiencing exactly what you're experiencing right now. And because of that, you know, I'm going to have to make you a case study for at least the next 5 minutes or so. Yeah. Because you're obviously not there anymore. There's no way you would be here with me on this TV show if you were still the type of person that needs to leave out the house at 6:30 and rip and run the streets, regardless of anything. So I want to know, you know, what happened? What happened when you saw that line that you weren't willing to cross outside? And I'll give you an example. You know, sometimes when you go outside, it's like, yeah, let's run around. Let's find something to eat. Let's hang around the bus stop. Let's hang around the library and talk jazz. Let's go to the school building and talk jazz out front. But then all of a sudden, you know, somebody's offering you, you know, a joint or a cigarette because you're outside like that. Or somebody is coming down the street looking to fight anybody that they see just because you're outside like that. Right. Did you have any experiences like that made you aware that, hey, listen, I like being outside, but I'm not going to be outside.
Absolutely. I think my mom kind of got the gist of what was going on after school. You know, I would come home kind of late or whatever. And, you know, she scolded me about it, but it wasn't pretty much a lot she could do from like a hospital bed or whatever, just pretty much yell at me, whatever. So she started cutting the money that she would give me, because like she would give me money for after school because, you know, I was greedy. So I wouldn't get as much money. So it kind of created the dependency I had on my friends. as far as eating after school. So one day I was just chilling. I'm like, y'all, I'm starving. And they like, listen, yo, we ain't got no money. I'm like, damn, like, what we gonna do? We hungry? Like, I was like, I don't got no money. Like, I don't know what we gonna do. So we see this kid and we like, yo, we know this kid got money. Yo, let's hop this kid, get the money, and go get some food.
When you say hop, what does that mean?
Listen, it was gonna be a bad day for that kid.
Wow. Okay.
Bad day for that kid. And that was my cutoff. I was many things at that point. I was a liar. I was a cheater. I was mischievous, but what I was not a thief, and I was not malicious like that. I've never been in the game of hurting people. I don't even know what that feels like. I don't like to fight. It's not my area. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't brought up to hurt people. So when people fight, I'm like, well, why? I'm the peacemaker of the group. I'm like, well, wait, talk it. So that was kind of like my cutoff. And I was like, yeah, it's a no for me, dog. Like, that ain't gonna make it for me. So
it's a no for me, dog.
that's my cutoff. I'm not gonna be able to do that. So
you know what? I want to take a moment to shout out some of the people we have in the building. We have Ani King Riley in the building. She says, good morning to you. Yolanda Riley's here. She says, good morning to you. We also have Diamond Simone, who calls this morning motivation. And I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. Now, I got a slew of questions that I'm ready to, share with you right now. And I want you to field them as effectively as you can. The first thing is this. Is there a line that you would consider a point of no return out there in the streets?
Yeah, over my working years, I got into because of some of the stuff that I got into, I thought one of my career paths would be juvenile justice. Okay. So I got into juvenile justice, and I got into a branch called LSP, Limited Secure Placement. So it would be a group of kids that would go into the system, and it would kind of serve as a holding space for them until they were old enough to serve their sentence in Rikers. So I thought I could effectively kind of like reroute them, because I could relate to them. So I'll kind of reroute them to a better path. So once their sentence was finished, they could kind of be on a better path. Mm-hmm. So I think that point of no return would be something criminal that would stay with you, that can kind of tarnish your credibility. You know what I'm saying? Because that's pretty much all you have in this world is your credibility, your respect, and your reputation. And if anything precedes you and it's not positive, that can put a damper. I'm not saying it can totally change everything that you're working towards, but it can definitely put a damper, and it may get a couple of doors closed in your face that may not necessarily need to be closed.
You know what? I had a mentor who told me one time, he said, you know what, Cedric, in life, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to do things that in retrospect, you're going to realize wasn't a good thing for you to do. What you don't want to do is commit a terminal mistake. And a terminal mistake is one, just like you were talking about just now with the LSP circumstance, but also when you thought about whether or not you want to be somebody who hops people, for what they have. And for y'all that don't know, hop, it means jumping. It means beating somebody up for no reason denounced to them. They don't know why they just got jumped and they got beat up for what's in their pockets or their feet or whatever. But you realize that will be a terminal mistake and that cannot be your life.
Right.
But you loved to be outside, out there in the world. And so I'm gonna ask you this. Do you think that we need a place that can that can house and interact with young adults and adults that just want to have fun? No, it's not the Boys and Girls Club. All due respect, I think we're tired of that. No, it's not the local recreation center. With all due respect, I think we're tired of that. Do we need a new place where you can go? It's not school. Nobody's going to hang you a textbook until you start doing calculus. Shout out to all my academicians out there, though. Do we need a new place to deal with people like you and millions of young people and young adults across the world who just want to be out there having fun?
Absolutely. I think it's twofold. I think it's exactly what you said about, just creating a new safe space that kids can come to, as weird as they are, and always find a place, just finding and tapping into that special place. And we also, as adults and mentors of kids that sometimes we don't even know that we're mentors to, we have to reshape what fun is, because sometimes kids have a very warped notion of what fun is. And I'm only talking from experience on my very own warped notion of what fun was. That was fun, running the streets, jumping over the train turnstile and all, like that was fun for me. Skipping school, and I'm telling you, literally, my mother would drop me off at school because she knew what kind of child I was. So she would drop me off and pick me up at school. But I was so clever. She dropped me off in the front door. I waited for her to leave out the front door. I left through the back door, and I came back at my school day was over at 2:20. I came back at 2:15 to make sure I was sitting on the side at 2:20. She would peek in, make sure I was there, and then we would go home. So I had a system to it. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? First, I mean, you just made me have a mental implosion. But first, we have Dred Scott in the building. Shout out to Dred Scott. And he says, there's no such thing as a point of no return in my experience. Dred, if you want to drop another comment explaining what you mean by that, I'd love to see if we can talk about that too, because I think that what you're going to say, not that all applies to every, is that you can always turn your life around. And we absolutely agree with that. Absolutely agree with that. And what I meant by a terminal mistake is a mistake that changes the trajectory of your life based off of the society that we live in. So while you can be a convicted felon and still become an extremely positive person in our society, you might get turned down for jobs because people don't know how to read you as a human being.
Right.
You know, a lot of the time when you go out there to get an opportunity, they want to know everything that's bad about you. They want to know everything that's bad that ever happened in your life.
Absolutely.
And what, depending on what some of those bad things are, people will connect that to your master status. Oh, this person's master status is that they're a car thief, that they're a thief.
Yep.
This person's master status is that they commit violence against other people. This person's master status is that they're a scammer. Now, Dred Scott, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with a mistake that I might have made in my past being my master status. For those of you who don't know out there, I spent years of my life drinking alcohol. Don't ever fix your mouth, your mind, or your perspective to tell me that my master status is alcoholic. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to the young people across America. Don't do that to the grown-ups out here who are more than that.
Right.
Develop the ability to take a clear look at somebody, an objective look. So I'm on everybody's side this morning when we talk about mistakes that we make in our life, and I agree. There's no such thing as a point of no return. There's 50-year-olds out there who they still need to do that which they've never done.
Right.
Not too late for them. It's never too late for you to get back healthy. They say the longer you walk, the longer you live. Never too late for you to get out there, write that book, tell your story. Pull somebody to the side and let them know who you are. Never too late for that. Yeah, I love you in the building, Dred Scott. I want to see you come back. Same thing to Dennis Tina. Now, back to what we were saying. Calvino, what is fun? What should fun be?
Fun, especially at a young level, fun should be something that, you know, creates these memories. You know, when I think back about the fun that I had that couldn't have got me locked up or shot or anything like that, I just think about just good, clean fun that I didn't have to work for, that I didn't have to, you know, have a plan or nothing. Just being out in Coney Island, just running up and down the boardwalk, cartwheeling, getting on the rides, and just hanging out with my friends, getting food, and just chilling out. Just summers in New York are the best. I think if you grew up in New York, you've had a marvelous experience as a kid. You know what I'm saying? It's so much to do in New York in the summertime. And if you're like an artsy person like I was always the event planner for my set of friends once I got a set. So it was either the museums or the parks or the zoos and stuff like that. So, if once we reshape our idea of fun as a child or youth or adolescent, you can get much more value out of life. You start living as opposed to what you were saying before as surviving. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna shoot this shot and see if you can slam dunk it. How do we talk to adults out there who they're living a toxic life because they never change directions. They never realize that the type of fun that I'm having is going to lead to me breaking the law someday. It's going to lead to me, messing up my opportunity to have an optimal life outcome. When we have conversations like this, a lot of time people think, oh, this is for the children. This is for the teenagers. This is for the young adults. Do we need to say anything differently for people to realize, hey, this is for adults out there too?
Sometimes society places so many limitations that sometimes our dreams stay just that. And they become so unattainable that sometimes we see it as just that, dreams, that we can't even press towards the mark. So when things are just seen as dreams, you just kind of fall into the reality of the fact that I'm here right now. And I may not press on to this dream because it may not come to pass. So I'm just going to stay where I am, and I'm going to become, I'm not going to be complacent, but I'm going to be content that I'm okay. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to press for greatness, but I'm going to be okay in what's now. So if we, if you know better, you do better. We have to know that better is attainable, because then we can change our habits. We can change our decisions in the choices that we make. So if I know I can ultimately get a house, I'm not going to just keep working in a job field where I'm making minimum wage, because I know I'll never get a house on that salary. But if I know that a house is in my future, I'm going to keep, whether I have to go back to school or whether I have to do this or do that, just to make enough money so I can secure a down payment to whatever house, townhouse, ranch, whatever I got to do. You know what I'm saying? So if that goal, or if that other option is so attainable, I think I can reach it, then I'll make different decisions. But if it's not within my grasp, or if I don't think it's within my grasp, I'm going to stay where I am. Right.
Is that okay? Is mediocrity okay?
Not at all. Because now you're not living. What are we doing?
Wow. If you're not seeking to get your life to a more to a greater level of happiness, then what are we doing?
Right.
You know what, Calvina? I think we've had a great conversation so far today, but we're not done. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to take a moment out there to follow America's Next Motivator TV show page. This is a TV show. Some people think, hey, I like your podcast. I like your interview. No, this is a TV show. We're all putting in an effort to do something greater. Follow our America's Next Motivator TV show page. And remember, we're talking to Calvina Johnson. We'll be right back with her after a brief message. America's Next Motivator, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. America's Next Motivator, hosted by me, Cedric Riley, and sponsored by the Pride Empowerment Network. And we're back. Calvina, how you feeling out there?
Good, I'm good.
All right. So, as you graduated high school and you said that that wasn't the time when you were hyper focused in your life, what were you thinking about as a young adult? What was your objective?
Honestly, I wasn't thinking about much because when I tell you I wasn't prepared to graduate high school because I barely did not barely did any work, but I barely did any substantial work. And like I said, they probably gave me my diploma so they didn't have to ever see me again. So it's like once I graduated, before that, I had an amazing guidance counselor that just spoke life into me. Like, she really took the time with me, as spastic as I was. Shout out to Miss Hazard. Like she really took the time with me, just kind of like focused me in, and she's like, well, what do you want to do? And what do you just apply to any college? I'm like, I'm not going. I don't want to do it. And she's like, well, just apply here and just do this and like just help me with my college applications. And this lady in my church also, she was an amazing mentor to me and helped me out a lot with my college admin and stuff like that. So once I did graduate, I'm like, wow. And I remember standing backstage and even getting my cap and gown, and I'm like, oh, this is really happening. Like, I'm really getting my diploma, like, and I just remember peeking out the curtains, before like they called my name and stuff, and just seeing my dynasty on the front row, just seeing my mom, my grandmother, my godparents, my dad, and just seeing just that glimpse into the future. And I'm like, I kind of think that's when it kind of started clicking for me, like, okay, like there's something there that can be more, you know what I'm saying? That I wanted more to life, that I wanted more than just what met the surface to me, personally. So, after high school, I went to college, and I went away to college at that. I thought I was going to be just like one of the community college person. I definitely applied for LaGuardia and stuff like that. I was always in the arts because I was in church so much. I was always singing, dancing, all of that stuff. So I was like, okay, I'll just do LaGuardia or whatever. But surprisingly, I got into SUNY Cobleskill. So listen, my dad was so stoked. It was such an amazing experience just to, be kind of like the first to go away to college in my in my immediate family. And it was such an amazing feeling. My dad I remember he had a Ford Tempo. The car was this big.
Yep, sure was.
He was like, I don't know how I'm gonna get all this stuff up there. He ran out to the dealer, traded his car, and got a Dodge Caravan. Took all the seats out in the back, loaded all of my stuff up. When I tell you, I left with my whole parents' house. Like, I wasn't sure what I was supposed to take, but I knew I just took it with me. And went up to SUNY Cobleskill, and it was the best experience of my life, like the best experience of my life. And that was just that. And I'm like, I'm really away at school, like, living life. And I'm like, that kind of changed my trajectory on like how I was taking my life. Even when I came back, as my parents got sicker, and I kind of took on the role of the caretaker or the head of household to that fact, started dealing more with my mom and stuff like that. And as everyone trickled off, as my grandmother was the first to pass away, and then my father, and then, later on down the line, my mom a few years ago, it was just like, I kind of started living for them, kind of myself onto the back burner as far as career, as far as ministry, as far as anything. Like, everything took a backseat to anything. Anybody knows anything that I'm doing. Once that call came and I saw it from my mom or something happened, hey, I got to go. I got to do. I gotta, even with traveling, I'm big on travel because I get to travel, I get to come back, regroup. But it was a point where I wasn't going anywhere for more than a weekend, because I knew my mom's home health aides, with home health aides and nursing home and things like that. It's just like, Black folks, we don't put parents in nursing homes and stuff. We just chalk it up. You move in, and that's gonna be it. So I got a home health aide for her, and I just wanted to make sure everything was on the up and up. So I stayed out of jail. I made sure, people did what they were supposed to do. And I was like, I feel like 3 more days would be too long for me to leave her in the house with somebody that is not family or something like that. So I didn't travel for more than 3 days at a time. So if it wasn't a weekend trip, I wasn't going. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of started to stifle myself in life because I had other responsibilities that I didn't even mind at the time, because I'm like, I don't even belong to these people biologically, and they loved me unconditionally and without reservation. And this is what I owe this to them. So that's kind of like I said, on how from high school until my early, like right before I turned 21. So all that happened between ages 17 to 20. This is kind of what I was dealing with and figuring it out along the way.
You know what? I think that is very commendable that you realize, hey, there might come a time in my life where I'm going to need to give back to my parents by taking care of them the way that they took care of me. Do you think that more young people need to take on, and not just young people, do you think that more people in general need to take on that perspective that, hey, there's going to come a time where I'm going to need to take care of my parents the way that they took care of me?
Absolutely. I think the bond between parent and child, or parent and kids, need to be stronger, because that is the stronghold. I couldn't have made it through half of the things, or process, or even handle half of the things in life that I could without God and my parents, because I do what I did what I saw, so it was times throughout a lot of stuff that I did, I always made it to work. Like, my mom was a stickler. Like, I saw my mom work. Like, always. It was a traditional family, but then it wasn't like it. My mom wasn't a stay-at-home mom that cooked and cleaned and all of that stuff. Not at all. She worked every day. My dad was an entrepreneur. So he worked day in and day out. And no, my mom didn't cook every day and nothing like that, but my dad was definitely fed, clothes were cleaned, everything. You know what I'm saying? So whereas the regular stay-at-home mom did laundry and all this other stuff, no, we took turns taking our stuff to the laundry, because I was always in uniform. So I always took my stuff to the cleaners or anything like that. So we had a system that kind of worked for us in our own little bubble. You know what I mean? So it's like, if the relations between parent and child get better and get stronger, a lot of things will work itself out. And I'm talking about in the Black community, because there's been a generational breakdown that we've had. And I see it a lot in Black families. Once a kid turns 18, okay, well, get a job, get out of my house, you got to pay rent. My mom never did that. My parents never did that to me. Like, never did that to me. I don't even think I started paying rent because I felt bad after a while. And I'm like, wow, I'm really making decent. Like, after I swung a job at the Bronx Zoo, I was making $2,000 every other week. Every other week, $2,000. I was 19. My father paid my phone bill. I ain't had no bills. I was at home. $2 a week. Right. What was I doing with my money? I was free. Man, listen. Right. I paid on Friday, broke by Monday, but that was another story. You know what I'm saying?
So let me ask you two things. I keep hearing you mentioning ministry. Where did ministry come in at for you? Where was that seed planted, and what have you done in ministry?
That's my silent killer right there.
Let's go.
That's the silent creep up right there. So when I was 21, my church gave me this amazing opportunity to go to Africa on a mission trip, right? So I was like, who's Africa? I was like, whatever. Look, it's a free trip. I'll take it. So I went, and it completely changed my life. I got one, long story short, I got one with myself, God, nature, all of that good stuff. Came back, rocket launched myself into my spirituality. Let's say that. I always had religion. I always had the politics of religion down. Always had it. Always
went to the politics of religion.
Dressing up, wearing dresses to church, making sure that this was in place, that was in place, wearing white on Communion Sunday. Always had the politics of religion, but never the spirituality of it. Never. So once I got the spirituality, I could drop the politics of religion. You know what I'm saying? So that's when I felt like I became the fallacy to it all. Right.
Okay.
Throughout the years, always wrestled with this, like, okay, this ministry, I would preach here and there. And, I would do classes and this and that and that and this, until I was just like, okay, this is weighing heavy on my heart. And so I went to my pastor who doubles as my aunt. Also, I'm like, Aunt Ruby, I feel something. I'm not sure what it is. I feel something. And she was like, okay, this calling, what do you feel? Like, what is this? What is that? Next thing I know, I was at a licensing ceremony, getting my license, preaching my first sermon, and I'm like, how did we get here?
Wow. Well, hold on.
Right. And it happened just like that.
Hold on. I want people to understand. This is why I bring people on to America's Next Motivator. We're listening to her story. She had a notion that, you know, a life of failure wasn't for her. Lo and behold, she becomes a preacher.
Right.
Even if she's not doing it every Sunday, but she becomes somebody who gets into a spiritual word and delivers it to other people. So she becomes a spiritual leader. She becomes a shepherd. Talk to me about your first time providing a sermon, if you will, to a congregation. What was that like, and what was your message? Let's go there.
Lord, it was like Peter. So here I am at 22, preaching to people who are 20, 30 years my senior, and telling them to wake up and to walk in. That was my initial sermon, to wake up and walk into their destiny. So I'm sitting here like, God, you took the number one sinner that you can find, and you dropped me in the pulpit, as weird and as awkward as I am, and you say, here, preach this word. And as weird as I am, and when I tell you, when I preach, I'm in sweats, I'm in sneakers, I'm as comfortable as I am, because you can say what you want. I know I'm not traditional, and I will most likely be in a pulpit with a hoodie and sneakers, but you can't deny my anointing. That's why I say I don't get into the politics of religion. And it was just a message of what are we doing here? If you have a destiny and if you have a calling on your life, why not walk in it? You know, aren't you tired of walking in everyone's shoes? Like, why don't you walk that beaten path? You know, why don't you go off the path and just head on down the road? What is so wrong about the unknown? Like,
Let me ask you something. Are you everything? I'm gonna make a direct statement. I think that you're everything that is right about spirituality in 2020. You're not just like everybody that we've seen behind the pulpit with a pair of cufflinks on.
Right.
To me, you represent so many people who, when they were younger, all they heard was, if I go to church, all I'm hearing is somehow, some way, I'm going to hell. I don't brush my teeth right, I'm going to hell. I don't wash my face properly, I don't put my pants on correctly, I'm going to hell. So we were scared away. You go out there, you see that the world is not just all positive when it comes to freedom. Free will can lead you to your demise. So you say, no, let me pull back a little bit. Let me get back into my spirituality. But guess what? I'm not throwing them cufflinks back on for you.
Right.
I'm not putting on nobody's suit for you. I'm not going to be looking like everybody and anybody. I'm going to look like me. I'm coming as I am. You said that, right? I'm coming as I am. And Christ is in me. I think that what you're doing is everything right about spirituality in 2020. What can we do to get more people who might have lived a similar journey to yours to get into some form of spirituality?
I think just being a living sacrifice, you know, that's why I'm very transparent in my ministry. I'm very transparent in life. Like, you can't guilt me. I think if we're okay with the decisions that we make and that relationship that we have with God, you know what I'm saying? No one can ever guilt me into any decision that I've ever made for my life, right, wrong, or indifferent. And if it was wrong, I probably made it twice just to make sure it was wrong. You know what I'm saying? So you cannot guilt me and, oh, you was in the strip club and this and that, and that. You know how many people that go to my church that I told to come to my church that I met in the strip club? Like, you know, you can't shuffle me into guilt for the choices that I've made for my life, because when you understand that God has this master plan for your life, you understand why you're put into certain places and will come across paths with certain people. So you can be an example, or you can uplift them, or you can be a encouragement to them in whatever situation or trial or tribulation that they may be going through. Or you can just be a friendly shoulder to cry on, that, you know, that they may need an end and be like, well, okay, I can't help you there, but I know an entity that can help you. You know what I'm saying? And you know, that's something that person has to develop. I can lead you to Christ all you want, but if you're not going to put the time and the effort into it, then I can't help you.
What do people get out of putting their time and effort into spirituality, what do people get in return?
You get the vanity of life.
Whoa. What's that mean?
You get purpose. You get purpose, because if you're not living in purpose, then you're just getting up every day thinking you're getting up by yourself. So that's the insane part about it. If you think you're waking yourself up and you're just going in and day out, and that you're missing something, go find that thing that you're missing. Now, it may not be Christianity, it may not be Buddhism, it may not be Islam, but if it's something that's missing in your life, you may already be feeling that calling, and it's your obligation to go get that. We're descendants of Abraham. I believe we're descendants of Abraham, and I'm in direct line of that inheritance. So I want everything that belongs to me. I'm coming for everything that belongs to me, because it's my inheritance. So if it belongs to me and it's my birthright, then I want it.
Absolutely. So then my question, well, first of all, shout out again to Dred Scott, because I think that's connected to what he was saying, how there is really there's never too late for you to get anchored in some level of spirituality. I was having a conversation with somebody recently who was talking about billionaires who are unhappy, a billionaire who is unhappy. So I look at our community, I look at the foster care system, I look at people who wasn't involved in the foster care right now, but they're not happy and they don't know their purpose. A lot of adults out there don't know their purpose. We need spirituality. I think that's the missing link. Boom.
Bad out.
Okay, spirituality is one thing, but finance is another.
That's a fact. And that's what I was up against. I said, preaching ain't finna pay these bills.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Especially when my parents have gone on, because that was my anchor. You know what I'm saying? That was my lifeline, just in case I fell to my face. I could always come back home. Now it's like, okay, I ain't got that anchor no more. So what I'm finna do? Because shelter life ain't never been my life. So I'm like, I don't know, God, what we finna do here? Because the church folk don't pay.
Right.
So what are we gonna do here?
So what did you decide to do from a financial standpoint?
I decided to have my ministry encompass everything I do in life. And that's how my companies came to pass.
What are your companies? Tell us.
So I have a hair company, and my hair company, Royal Strands Premium Hair and Wigs, and it caters to people who have alopecia and cancer. I make free wigs for them who have alopecia and cancer. And I also sell bundles and things like that. I do hair shows. I do pamper parties, things like that. So 10% of all my earnings go to cancer research, Winthrop Hospital. So that's my hair.
Name of it?
Royal Strands Premium Hair and Wigs. My other company is a cosmetic line. My cosmetic line is completely biblical based. I have 66 lip colors, and they represent each book of the Bible. And basically, if one person, my thought process was, if one person buys every lip shade that I have, then they know the Bible.
Wow.
So I got a whole bunch of stuff. I got Sodom, Gomorrah, I got James, John, I got Revelations, and there's some dope colors. I got matte colors, I got cream colors, I got lip glosses, I got a whole bunch of stuff. I do all that stuff.
These industries have turned out to be extremely fruitful for some other people. I think about Kylie Jenner. I think about Carol's daughter. And not just because of, I know Carol's daughter doesn't do hair weave, but I think about that industry as being a $1 billion industry. I think about Madam C.J. Walker.
Absolutely.
And I see you walking in some of the purpose of that ancestor. You talk about the inheritance that's waiting for you by way of your ancestors. And so we've always been in the hair, beauty, and vanity businesses. Mm-hmm. And so I really think that you're onto something. When you merge the spirituality piece with the beauty piece, I think that you're a leader, a big time leader here in 2020. So where can we find you if somebody wants to buy some of your products or have a subsequent conversation with you?
I'm social media based, super social media based. Royal Strands Premium Hair and Wigs.
Royal Strands?
Yep, Royal Strands. I can drop the link in the chats. Glory Cosmetics. That's my cosmetic line. And as of last year, Yeah, as of last year, I came out with a marketing and branding company called My Mother's Child, and it's a branding and marketing company, and I'm committed to kind of serving a cause greater than myself and loving someone other than myself. So anybody that wants to kind of branch off and do a business plan or branding and marketing and stuff like that, and need help starting these businesses, I have an amazing vendors. I have different links on how to get started and doing all of that stuff, financial classes, economic classes, a whole bunch of stuff. I have a whole team of people that are ready to jump in, from logos to websites to LLCs, completely Black owned based. And I think it'll be a good thing. I got a bunch of links that everybody can profit from. And yeah.
Okay. Make sure that you come back in here after this broadcast and drop your links in the comment section so that people can see it in the future. And also, if you can, please take about a minute to talk about young adults right now who they've been through a lot. They've lost their parents. They're trying to see a way through. They don't want to be possessed by negative influences that have been around them. They want to get out into the positive side of life. And you're an example of that. Can you talk to them for a minute?
Yeah, you just got to tap in. And it's like when you tap in, you just see the beauty of yourself, whatever that self may be, as messy, as weird, as quirky as you are. Just tap in. Everybody can profit from. And yeah.
Okay. Make sure that you come back in here after this broadcast and drop your links in the comment section so that people can see it in the future. And also, if you can, please take about a minute to talk about young adults right now who they've been through a lot. They've lost their parents. They're trying to see a way through. They don't want to be possessed by negative influences that have been around them. They want to get out into the positive side of life. And you're an example of that. Can you talk to them for a minute?
Yeah, you just got to tap in. And it's like when you tap in, you just see the beauty of yourself, whatever that self may be, as tap into those people